that high drama, looks like a movie shot that you just saw was literally filmed in my bedroom. With the help of my mother, of course. Oh my. Okay. No Hollywood set, no giant crew, just smart lighting and creativity. And I'm gonna teach you how you can create those same shots in your bedroom or office or wherever you may have. By the way, excuse the do-rag. I'm trying to learn how to cut my own hair. You can see how it's going. This is part 2 of our lighting series, so if you missed it, go ahead because I talk about some very important things that you may know before replicating these scenes. Now, if you were to ask me my favorite film as a filmmaker, you'd probably think it's some 1980s black and white heartthrob about the epitome of, it's holes, like Disney holes. But when it comes to my favorite cinematic projects, that's usually Snowfall or Euphoria. The clean contrast, the emotion in every frame, and the color choices. And that's what type of energy we're gonna put into our shots today. So let's get into it. So in our first scene, we're going for that hard, cold look of an interrogation scene. Now, we're using the Godox F200 by NOLED LED light matte panel and the Aperture 120D Mark II. Now, the way you can tell where the light is coming from is to see where the shadows end up. So for instance, in a lot of interrogation scenes, the top is lit, but their eyes or maybe wherever is under them may not be as lit. And that's where you usually will use top-down lighting. With 5600 Kelvin. So if we turn on my key light on top, comes out looking like this. This is not bad necessarily. It's just a tad bit too bright. See, the back I feel is too illuminated. This is with the diffusion on top, but I think we're probably gonna diffuse it some more. It's literally to use a white sheet. So I'm going to drape this on top. Now we have a more soft image. As you can see, this is pretty thin, so you can kind of see the white wall behind it. What we're gonna do is cut off any light hitting that. And that's where you would actually use a skirt. So it's basically this thing that you drape on top of the light. I don't have it. I didn't realize I would need it, so we're just gonna have to make shift with what we have. Just use it to drape a little bit the light so you can control it. Now, a skirt is used to kill spill from whichever side. Usually use it if you're using like a lantern modifier or if you're using an LED light panel like how I was using. This way it kills the light in different directions so that it can just only drape right on to the target that the light is focused on. It's obviously not wrapping the whole thing, but it makes it this look can work. However, I want a little bit more fill in my face. And once again, we're gonna use something budget, which is this picture of me when I graduated. But we're gonna use the white side to basically have the light bounce back into my face. However, I feel like I need a little bit more fill. So we're gonna use the 120D. Gonna place it right on the floor, hitting this, and basically the light's gonna bounce back right into my face. Wow, look at that. It's pretty good. I'm matching my light here. This is also 50, is this 56? Yeah, it's 56. So with that now and a little bit of grading, we created this black dark abyss. Now the difference between this fill shot and the shot that actually made it to the final frame is that the fill was on 2 different sides. So you can see here that this is what the front fill looks like and this is what the side fill looks like. The front lights up the whole face, but the side adds a little bit of depth to it. And here you can see all the different steps. And I forgot to mention this before, but when it comes to our settings, we're shooting at our base ISO all the time. Your base ISO is basically where you're gonna have the least noise possible. Now my camera, the A7S III, has dual base ISO at 640 and 12800. However, usually when I'm lighting scenes with artificial light, I always keep it at 640 just so I can have the most natural, clean image possible to bring the light up to par. Now in our second scene, we're lighting a very small, cramped space, one of the bathrooms in my house. Now I set up the light and it was pretty hard to do just because I don't have very tall ceilings. But with this, we're gonna keep the grid on so that we can focus the light spilling down rather than out to the sides. With this, it concentrates right on top of me and simulates an overhead lighting that you may have in your bathroom or shower. The key to cinematic lighting is to keep it realistic and to light the space that the person is in rather than your typical lighting of the face. You're lighting the space so that you can move around, get different shots, not have to change anything, and trying to make it look as realistic as possible. After I put this, I then used my 120D Mark II to give a little bit of backlight just so it can separate my body, and as well, if I turn around, you can still see my face. Now, it was very tricky to get my camera inside of the bathtub without it being wet. That's why you see the angle that I have. Now looking back, I probably would have done maybe a top-down shot, but I was scared that you were gonna see my body and y'all gotta pay for that. So I did what I had. You can kind of see that because my ceilings were too low, you can see the light in the frame, but I just cheated and kind of generative AI'd the top so that you couldn't see it in certain shots. But all in all, you can do this differently, which is by bouncing light, which we'll get to in a second. But you can also cheat it by bouncing light. But however, if you have a tall enough ceiling, this is a great shot that you can do to garner emotion and cinematic lighting. Now the next scene we're going for is basically this at night book reading scene. Very dramatic, very contrasty with the blinds in the background. Now, my first idea was to take the LED light mat and remove it from its softbox and place it right behind my blinds since I'm on the second floor. However, the light was too soft because when you're doing these type of blind shots, you need a hard light source. So instead, I decided to actually take my blinds off and place it on top of a C-stand. From there, I took my 120D Mark II and just pointed it directly down into the shade with the reflector on it. I then opened up the blinds so that we can have that little shade effect. And from here, we have our negative fill to the side just to kill a little bit of the spill. And then in the back, as you can see, we have our 120D blaring through with the reflector on top. From here, I needed a little bit of fill to the side, and that's where I had the LED light mat bouncing into this little whiteboard just to create some more ambience so you can see my face and fill the scene properly. So here's the scene without, and here's the scene with it. Just adds a little bit more ambience in the background, a little bit more depth. And that's how we finally got this final shot right here. Pretty simple, pretty quick, pretty easy. Now, some advice when it comes to lighting. I was very intimidated when I first started lighting. I did the regular, key light, fill light, but I really wanted to elevate my videos. Now, I used to be intimidated when I used to see the big sets with the big ARIA lights and whatever, but realistically, they're doing the exact same techniques just with more expensive or bigger lights because they have to light a bigger space. These lights are okay. The $500, $300, $200 lights, those are okay because you may not be lighting such a huge space. And even when it comes to diffusion or a negative fill, you can use a black sheet or you can use a white cloth. The reason why some of these things are so expensive is literally because you're paying for longevity and convenience. Me coming with a white sheet and having to rig it on top of my light was a little bit tedious, but they have different sets of diffusion and stands that you can connect it to, and it works well. The same with foam boards. They have some hundreds of dollars of foam boards, but really what you're paying for is the use case and the longevity and the convenience of it. But really you can make stuff great with budget gear. So you don't need to be scared. So like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram. and subscribe so we can get this journey together. Have a lot of things planned for you guys. Thanks for the love. I'm out.